This is the High Density Espalier Gardener, and this is an update to my tour of my garden. I have here, at the beginning of my garden, 5 cherry tomato plants. 4 are the same. They are the little red cherry tomatoes, these 2 and these 2. And this is what the little cherry tomatoes that I have look like. And I also have a yellow pear cherry tomato here that I recently purchased, and I am starting something new called companion planting, where you plant things that are going to help each other out for different reasons, and I'll talk about those in other videos. But here I have planted what is supposed to be a really good companion for tomatoes, little basil plants. Here, some people pronounce it basil, but for me they're basil. Anyway, those should be coming out quite nicely, and then we'll see what the benefits are for the companion planting. On this side I have my mini vineyard. I have 12 varieties of grapevines planted and 2 that are still in pots. I have taken quite a while to plant those last 2 grapevines because I need to knock this wall out, put up a fence or gate over here, and then this whole area will be available for planting additional varieties of grapes and other things that I have planned for this area. But anyway, that will be hopefully on another video. Here on my mini vineyard I have Midgley's Purple, Venus, Thompson Seedless, which really doesn't appear to be all in that much of a hurry to be growing. If it didn't give us grapes last year, and if it doesn't do anything this year, I'm probably going to get another one and just replace it. Next to that I have a Himrod here, Red Flame Seedless, Summer Muscat, and you can see down inside the grapes. That are growing. And the same here. With my black Monukka. Here is Zinfandel and Merlot. The Merlot has some grapes that are back in there, a little hard to see. And then the blueberry grape, which has quite a lot of grapes going back in there as well. Cabernet. And a Perlette. It's important to note that grapes don't give grapes. The grapevines don't give grapes all at the same time. There are different varieties here. So the early grapes are out right now, they're fruiting. There are late grapes that will start to fruit after the summer. And the whole idea was to make sure that I have grapes at a consistent supply of grapes instead of just having all the grapes at once. Here are my other 2 grapes, the Concord and Autumn Royal. Yeah. And my Jaboticaba tree. It's a Brazilian fruit. This tree is about 10 years old now, so I should be getting fruit sometime in the next couple of years. It gives fruit on the trunk, and the fruit tastes like tapioca when you pop it. It should be quite good. One of the things that we're doing differently now than what we did before is that we are starting to have flowers growing all around the garden, and you'll see those as we go by. I'm not going to name those, but you'll see that we have quite a lot of varieties of flowers now. The growing area for the yard is now divided up into four parts, and you can see them all here, and I'm going to go through each part separately. So the fence, this trellised fence, is the first thing that I'm going to review. I'll go through, I'll show everything that is on the trellised fence, then I'll come back and I'll start to show the trees that are espaliered here, and then behind it I have some things that are growing in little lowered planter areas that are on trellises, and then behind that I have even more things growing, corn and different things like that. So I'll show each section in step by step. So starting with the fence trellis, I have yellow kiwi growing here, the male plant and the female plant, and these will be growing on their vines, so they're going to be growing up on this trellis fence, and eventually I'm going to be putting my green kiwi here, the female plant there, and the male plant here, so that all of my kiwis will be growing on this fence trellis area. Next, I have a grouping of beans. These are my black beans here, and then next to that I have pinto beans growing. Excuse me. I have one tomatillo plant. We had a bunch of these last year, and they just grew crazy, and we ended up using it to make green salsa, and it was really quite good. So I decided to have at least one plant this year. We have a lot of chilies, and I'll get to those shortly. Anyway, here I have two varieties of peas. I have snow peas and sugar daddies, and here's an example of the sugar daddies, and then here is an example of the snow peas. Yeah, not the same thing, never mind. I came through and I harvested a few about 50 little peas on Friday, so everything that's coming out right now is all new stuff. Since then, they grow quite quickly. Here I have three varieties of cucumbers growing. The lemon cucumber, Market More, which is the long green one, and then a Misi, which is a really long, like wrinkled looking Chinese or Asian cucumber. And the little cucumbers are starting to come out, really kind of cute. Here, kind of funky looking, but really delicious, and they're growing up on the trellis quite nicely. Here I have two varieties of green beans. I have Kentucky Wonder, which is the one that's growing up on the trellis, and tender greens. I didn't know when I planted these that the tender greens were not actually vines, they're just bushes. So the ones that are on the lower area here are the tender greens, and we've harvested these and made different dishes from the tender greens. And then soon we should be able to harvest some of the Kentucky Wonders that are growing up on the trellis here. Okay, further this way, I have a section here where I'm growing jicama. I have like 20 little plants growing here. They're really starting to come out. And I have planted another dozen of them in a little seed starter kit thing that I purchased, and I'll show that a little later. Anyway, we'll have a total of about 30 jicamas growing. Jicamas are vines that will be growing up and attached into this fence trellis. But the jicama is a root. It's really crispy and delicious, and you put lemon or chili or whatever on it, and it's really crunchy, nice taste. This fence here, I don't have them yet, but I'm going to be putting passion fruit here. I'm going to get, or the plan is, I'm going to get a yellow passion fruit, a red, and then a purple, and I'll have all three growing here along this trellis fence. Okay, so that's the end of the trellis fence section for now. Later on I'll have a little bit more, because I'm going to be putting up another trellis fence here, and I'll be growing things there, and same with here in this section, but nothing there yet. Okay, so behind that, now I'll go through and I'll talk about the trees that I have espaliered. I'm doing a combination of espalier method and high density planting method, where you plant several trees close to each other, 1.5 to 2 feet apart, and then treat them as if it were really one tree. I'm combining the two methods so that the branches intermix, and so the branches from one tree are growing all the way across from one post to the other post, and you'll see that as I go through. They are all intermixed and growing together. These are my figs. I have a Violette de Bordeaux, brown turkey fig, and Panache here, and the figs are just growing crazy. There are probably, I don't know, 250 to 300 figs growing in this small area. I have the cool looking tiger stripe figs. Those are the Panache. And then the brown turkeys are already really big. I mean, these get like half the size of my fist. And the Violette de Bordeaux stay small. Here's one that's getting close, and that's about as big as they get. But they have a really intense flavor, really delicious. Next, I have my pears, and the only pears that are coming out so far are the ones that are on the Bartlett. I believe that that's a yellow Bartlett. This is the first time I'm actually going to get fruit from it, so I'm not exactly sure if it's a yellow or a red. It might be a red, since it has little red blush on it here. But we'll see. I have some there, some on top, some on the back over here. I mean, there are about a dozen pears growing at the moment. I have a 5-in-1 multi-grafted pear, and one of the things that I was really disappointed with myself is that I didn't understand something that one of a couple of the subscribers pointed out to me, that some of these have to have a different pear or a different apple for cross-pollination. they're not self-fertile. And so I noticed that the flowers were coming out and nothing was happening. They were just falling off. And the problem is that there was not a cross-pollinator that was flowering at the same time for some of the pears and also for the apples. And I'll talk about that in the apples in a minute. Anyway, I have a Century 2000 pear here, Bartlett. And then the 5-in-1 multigraft has Comice, Flemish Beauty, Anjou, and Hood, as well as a graft of a Bartlett, which may be yellow and may be red. I'm not sure yet. I'm going to be getting another pear, but I'm taking my time to select it because I want to make sure that I get something that is going to be flowering at the same time as the other ones so that they can cross-pollinate. And then hopefully I'll get quite a lot of pears. Over here are my apples. I have 6 varieties of apples growing here. I have a red delicious apple tree that is espaliered this way. And then a 5-in-1 multigraft apple that is espaliered this way. I have a grand total of 1 apple that is growing on there right now. The Fuji apparently sometimes will self-pollinate, and so I have 1 apple growing. The Gala doesn't self-pollinate, so these are just going to be falling off. That really sucks. And the red delicious, I had, I should say, about 100 flowers blossoming on the fruiting spurs this year, and I was all excited. And then, because I didn't see a lot of bees coming out, I thought that that was the reason why the flowers were falling off. And as it turns out, this one requires a cross-pollinator that's flowering at the same time, and because of that, I lost all of the flowers. I don't have one that flowers at the same time. Supposedly, the Gala can cross-pollinate the red delicious, but the flowers came out about a month or so ago on the red delicious, or maybe a little bit more. And you saw just a minute ago, I took off some of the flowers that had died on the Gala graft. This came out just like a week or 2 ago. So the difference between flowering times was at least a month. So that was useless. I went online to try to find out exactly what it is that I should do about it, and I found that a good pollinator for the majority of the apples that are here is something called a Hughes crabapple that gives off little apples that are not necessarily all that great to eat, but it'll pollinate everything else that I have here. And the little apples can be used to make apple cider. So I've pre-ordered one of those, and I'll be planting it in this area here so that next year I won't have wasted a whole season, and hopefully I'll have quite a lot of apples growing. Okay, so behind the red delicious apple here, I have a Chinese Jujube, and when I go to show the next growing area, I'll have a better view of that, and so I'll show that in a few minutes. Okay, next to my apples I have a Haas avocado that is espaliered and mixed with a Subel white sapote. I don't have any avocados growing this year. I think it might have had an issue with the frost that we had earlier this year, and so I had no flowers on it at all this year, which sucked, but hopefully it'll give me some fruit next year. You're supposed to have one of each of the different types of avocados close by so that they can cross-pollinate, because on there's type A and type B, and the difference is when the male and female flowers are open. On the A the male is open either in the morning or in the evening, but not both. And then the female flowers are open either in the morning or evening, but not both. And then for type B, which is in the background, my neighbor has a forte. The male and female flowers are open at the opposite times. So when the male flowers are open for the haws, the fortes female flowers are open, and vice versa. When the male flowers are open on the forte, the female flowers are open on the haws. So, and that works out quite well. I don't need to get a second avocado tree. On the Subel, I have actually quite a lot of fruit growing on there, and some of it is really large. I've never tasted the white zapote fruit, but this year it looks like I will have a good opportunity to find out exactly what it tastes like. Next, I had several mango trees, but lost them in the frost earlier this year. I've replaced one of them, which is the little Manila mango, and I still have 3 more mangoes to go. I found a place online called Pine Hill Nursery. That's tropicalfruitnursery.com, and they have a whole, like 25 different varieties of mangoes, and they have the 3 that I want to get. I'm going to be getting a Carrie to replace the one that I lost. I want a Nam Dak Mai, and then I haven't decided on the 4th one yet. They have so many varieties, I'm just going to have to go ahead and choose one. And then back here you can see I have a little bird bath. It's really kind of cool, and the birds come over there and then just go crazy with that. Here I have a total of 10 guava trees growing, 5 in front, 5 in back. I'll talk about the back ones as I go through the back portion. Here I have a tropical white, a South African tropical pink, a Mexican cream, Malaysian red, and a Beaumont red growing on the front. These are all espalier. The branches are crossing each other, and as you can see, they're planted about 1.5 to 2 feet apart. This is the perfect example of high density espalier method that I'm working on. It was an experiment that I decided I wanted to give it a shot 2 years ago, and now it looks like it's really working pretty well. Next to that, I have my cherry trees. I have 2 cherry trees. This one here is a Stella, and then a 3-in-1 multigraft cherry tree with Van, Bing, and Black Tartarian. A friend of mine used to do a lot of grafting, and he says that when I told him that I had a Black Tartarian, he said, why? Apparently they're really small, don't have a lot of fruit, and they're really tart. But it still sounds good to me, because once the fruit comes out, I want to make some pies, and I don't want just sweet cherries in it. I want to put a bit of tart in there, so it has a nice balance. Anyway, the cherries are the same as pears and apples in that you have to have cross pollinators, and the Stella is a really good pollinator for the rest of the cherries that I have growing here, but it was too small this year to really give out flowers. So hopefully next year it'll flower and help to cross pollinate the other ones. I had a lot of flowers, but they didn't have a cross pollinator, so I didn't get any cherries this year. Next to that, I have my 3 pomegranate trees. I have a Red Wonderful, and a Utah Sweet. The Utah Sweet is a pink pomegranate, and for the most part you can hardly see the pomegranates because the Utah Sweets are green when they're growing, so it's kind of hard to pick them out. They turn pink much later. The red Wonderfuls start out green. Well, actually they start out bright red like this, and then turn almost green, and then get red again. So right now the majority of all of the pomegranates are all green, in the green stage. I have a few more coming out right now of the red Wonderfuls. Hopefully I'll have a nice harvest from those. This one is a Japanese pomegranate that was bred to flower. It gives off really pretty flowers, but it doesn't really fruit. And so I'm not going to really get any pomegranates out of that. Here you can see the flowers are really quite open. You can see the pistil and stamen in there. I mean, these are easy for the bees to get into to pollinate. On these are really heavily, really dense on the flowers, and they cover up everything. The bees have a real hard time getting in there to do anything other so these are more ornamental than anything else. They're called orange marmalade. I'm probably going to be getting rid of this tree because the whole idea was I want fruit. I kind of tricked it this year. I got the pollen from one of the other flowers, and I took off all of the little flower petals on this one, and I pollinated it here, and it looks like it might actually turn into a pomegranate with the seeds to be able to eat, but I have no idea if that little experiment's actually going to work, and it's not necessarily the reason for these kind of pomegranates. I mean, they're pretty and everything, but that's not the reason why I wanted these here. So I'm probably going to be getting another kind of pomegranate. I haven't decided exactly what yet. Maybe an angel red or something else. I don't know yet. There are a whole bunch of varieties, and I've been looking at different things. So we'll see what I get. Next to that, I have my citrus trees. I have a Valencia here, and two Caracaras that I have espaliered, and when I espaliered them, I lost all the fruit. So more little flowers are coming out, so hopefully we'll be able to get fruit from that. I have here my Moro blood orange. It's the most intensely dark red blood orange that is available, I guess. Hopefully I'll get some oranges from that this year. Next to that I have, wow, the wind's picking up. Next to that I have a Mineola Tangelo, and then here is an Algerian mandarin. And these two trees have really caused me a lot of grief because I cannot remember exactly which one is which. I have a clementine and a satsuma. On one video I said that this was the clementine and that was the satsuma. On another video I said this was the satsuma and that was the clementine. The reality is, until it gives fruit, I have no clue which one is which, but one of these is a clementine and the other is a satsuma. And which variety of satsuma, I am not exactly sure either. So once the fruit comes out, hopefully I'll be able to identify it. Here I have a Dancy tangerine and a W. Murcott honey tangerine. The Murcott really was kind of sickly, and it lost all of its leaves, and I thought I was going to have to get rid of it, but then when I came out to actually take a look to see what I was going to do with it, I found that it had a lot of leaves coming out. So, oh well, it's going to stay, and we'll see what happens with it. Then here I have my Meyer lemon with one lemon growing here. But aside from that, it is really heavily flowered, and the bees have been loving this tree. I've had a lot of hummingbirds actually come over as well. I was really happy to see the bees on here, and it looks like they're still here right now. Really love to see the bees here. I'm thinking of even setting up a small beehive, but I'm not exactly sure yet. I have an uncle who has beehives and does that for a living. He's a professional beehive guy, and he ships beehives all over the country and whatever. I'm going to probably talk to him and find out what's the best way to set up a small beehive, or if that's even realistic. Next to the Meyer lemon that is completely flowering, I have Eureka lemon that has never flowered. This is the second year, and I'm still waiting, so we'll see what happens with that. Here I have a thornless Mexican lime, little limes that you use in beer or on your menudo. And then here is a Bear's seedless lime, much larger limes, quite good. Then here is an Oro Blanco. It flowered earlier in the year, but dropped all of its flowers. Not exactly sure why. So hopefully with all of this new growth coming out, I'll have flowers, and hopefully they'll stick. Here I have a Rio Red grapefruit, and it has two little grapefruits that seem to be doing pretty good. Hopefully those will last and get some grapefruit out of this. I got grapefruit out of it last year, so it's looking pretty good for this year to do so as well. Earlier in the year, I lost all of the fruit and all of the tops of my papaya trees, and I decided to do an experiment to see if the branches, after I topped it off, if it would grow branches, and it did. And now all of these little branches that are coming out have flowers growing on them, so I'm really excited. I hope that I get papayas again. We'll see what happens. The flowers at this stage are a little hard to see, but right in there you can see the flowers are starting to come out. And since these are the Hawaiian solos, I don't really need for them to cross-pollinate. They pollinate themselves. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully I'll get papayas this year. Back here in these three holes, I planted some chayotes. They're a type of squash. Oh, sorry, I'll come back to that. Anyway, next to the papayas, I have a group of tropical trees, 2 cherimoyas and 2 atamoyas. The cherimoya here is an El Bumpo, and I have an Gefner atamoya. This is supposed to be a Jefe cherimoya, but I have a feeling that it was mislabeled when I purchased it, and I think it's an El Bumpo as well. So I might end up having 2 El Bumpos, and the reason why I'm saying that is because if you look at the little fruit that I've been hand pollinating, the flowers, this is an example of one of the little fruit. I mean, it's really bumpy. So, I don't know. We'll see. If I have 2 El Bumpos, I don't care. And I just want to eat the fruit. They're really, really good. Anyway, Gefner atamoya and an African Pride atamoya here. There are a lot of the little fruits that have been setting. I've hand pollinated everything I possibly could, but these are kind of tricky. They are the same flower will be female in the morning, and then in the evening it'll be a male. And so if you don't get it just at the right time to pollinate it, you miss the slot, and oh well, there's nothing you can do about it. Anyway, here I have a custard apple, and the Atamoya trees, really that fruit is a cross between the custard apple and the cherimoyas. This is the red custard apple. The fruit is red on the outside and pink on the inside, and in several countries of the Spanish-speaking world they call these anonas. Then here I have a Brewster's lychee, a red skin, and next to that I have a longan tree. Excuse me, I don't remember the variety of the longan. It's a cousin to the lychee. Both of them look identical if you open up the fruit. The only difference you can see is the skin color. The lychee is red skin, and the longan is like a light tan colored skin. You peel it off, and then the fruit on each of these looks like an eyeball. And they call them dragon eyes. Here I have quite a lot of things that I've planted that are growing, and they are waiting to be planted in other areas once they get large enough, and also once they have enough roots. I have dragon fruit here. Jim Nyan or Nan sent me 3 varieties of dragon fruit. Thompson S8, American Beauty, and Vietnamese Jan or Jana, and I think that those must be putting out the roots pretty well. I've had them for about a month now, I think, and they are starting to put out little shoots here. Kind of cute. So the roots must be taking or growing. Hopefully in another couple months the roots will be strong enough, and I'll transplant those to the area where they will be growing their main home. Anyway, I went to Lowe's, and they had a whole bunch of dragon fruit there, and I found this one. It's pink. Oh, anyway, I have on the ones that Jim sent me, I have 2 white on the inside dragon fruits. All of these are red or reddish or pinkish on the outside, but 2 of them are white on the inside, and 1 is red on the inside. And when I was at Lowe's, I saw that they had a pink flesh one. I thought that was kind of cool, so I got one, and it was really tall. So I caught it. I let it get the what do you call that? Well, I let it dry on the edge where it was cut, so that I could plant it. And I've planted it here at the top part. Ended up with 2 plants out of the same one. And it looks like this one wants to have a little shoot coming out as well. We'll see. Anyway, I called this company. It's called Laverne Nursery Inc. I called them up to ask them what is the variety of this dragon fruit, and they said the variety is pink. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Each of these has a name. Which kind is it? So they asked a bunch of people that work there, and they went all the way up to the director, and the director said it's pink. Apparently they don't have a clue what varieties they're growing. They grow white, pink, and red, but I guess didn't bother to figure out what the varieties were that they were growing, and so there's no way to know. Once I actually do get fruit from it, I'm going to see if I can identify it, but I have no idea. I've never tasted dragon fruit, had never grown dragon fruit, so all of this is going to be a new experience, and I think I mentioned before, I'm really excited about it. So I have white, red, and pink so far. Also at Pine Hill Nursery, which I think is in Florida, they have a whole bunch of varieties. I think another 25 varieties of dragon fruit, and so I'm probably going to get some more of that. Now that Jim sent me these, I'm hooked. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, we found over at Lowe's a section where they were selling some plants that they had marked down because they were basically dead, for $1, and I got a whole bunch of them. I figured out that the reason why they were dying was because they had packed the dirt up too high, and so they had put dirt above the crown of the bottom of the plant. I dug out a bunch of the dirt and revived them, and we'll be putting these out around the garden as well for the bees to enjoy. I have my tomato plants that I started from seed growing here, and these I'm going to be planting over here in these two holes, this one and this one. I'm going to be mixing the dirt with some of the garden soil. It's a organic garden soil there, all natural, blah blah blah. Mix it up so that it's nice and loose and well draining soil, and then I'll be planting my tomato plants here and here, and I'll be putting trellises up for that. Next, I have my little mini banana plantation. I had bananas growing on one of them earlier this year, but for whatever reason they didn't make it, and I talk about that in the banana playlist as to what I think happened. But anyway, I now have two types of bananas, and I'm probably going to be looking for additional types to see what I can get. I have Rajapuris here, and Jim, the same gentleman who sent me these 3 dragon fruit cuttings, also sent me a Namwa pup that is really starting to grow out. The first little leaf, really cool. And I have, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, probably another 12 or 14, actually 14 little banana plants here. 2 of them should be giving bananas later this year, and the others probably next year. We'll see what happens. I have a bunch of little strawberries in this pot that I'm going to be planting probably tomorrow, and those will show up on the next video that I do. Here I have a golden nugget loquat that is espalier. Apparently I thought it was growing in a candelabra style, but a candelabra is straight across with limbs growing straight up. This is a different style where I'm having the branches come out like this and then grow up, and then on each level. And so it's I don't know the name, but it's slightly different from the cordon style, which is where you just have the branches growing on the wire at each level. here I have four, well, two apricot trees. I have a Royal Blenheim here. Sorry. Royal Blenheim here. And then a 3-in-1 multigraft with a Royal, Katie, and Flavor Delight apricots. We had half a dozen of the Royal Blenheim give fruit. The Royal Blenheim gave fruit, and it was about 6 fruit. We just harvested those this week. They were awesome, absolutely amazing, delicious, just sweet, a little bit of tartness on it. They were just really good fruit, and I'm looking forward to getting a nice amount of fruit from this next year. Here I have bird netting on the trees, so they look kind of funny, bent over and going this way and that. And I'll be taking the netting off probably in the next couple of weeks, but not yet, because I still have a lot of nectarines that are ripening at the moment, and I'll show those in just a second. Here I have 4 kinds of plums. I have a Satsuma, a Santa Rosa, an Elephant Heart, and I had grown a little black velvet seedling that didn't make it. It went to black velvet heaven, and I've replaced it with a burgundy. So I have Satsuma, Santa Rosa, Elephant Heart, and burgundy plums here. Then next to that, I have my Desert Delight nectarine tree here. I'm doing an air layering. Every time I say that, it's like blah, blah, blah. I'm air layering one of the branches from my nectarine tree, making a new tree out of it. So we'll see how that goes. It's an experiment. I've never done that before. First time I try it, so we'll see. But down in here, I'll just show. I mean, it's covered, literally covered with fruit. I've harvested probably 2 dozen fruit on it already, of the fruits that have gotten ripe. And there's still, I don't know, at least another 100 to, I don't know, maybe 150, but at least another 100 nectarines on there. And they are so good. I'm going to be doing something slightly new. I'm going to create a channel called Gardener Cuisine, and I'm going to be posting different recipes of things we're going to make with whatever we're growing. And one of the things that we're going to be doing here in the next few days is I'm going to be making nectarine jam and nectarine fruit tart, and we'll just be doing different things with the nectarines. We should have enough so we can make some smoothies and whatever, but we'll see how that goes. Next to that, I have a 3-in-1 multigraft peach tree. It had a lot of little peaches this year, but not a lot of them set. I'm not exactly sure why, but there are some peaches in there. They are really hard to see because they're not colored yet. They haven't colored because they're so small. But in another video, I'll dig in there and I'll show some of the peaches that are on there. And that's all of those that are in the front. Okay, so now I'll go to the next area. Behind those, from the last video that I did, I really do have a lot growing now. Okay, so the next growing area, I have watermelons here that are going to be growing up on this trellis here, growing vertically. There are about 15 little watermelon plants, and one of the things that I noticed is that I may have put them out a little too soon, because up until this past week the temperatures were in the 60s and lower 70s, and I guess these little watermelon plants didn't care for that temperature. Now that it's getting hot, is this week the temperatures went up into the upper 80s and lower 90s. Now they're really kind of starting to take off. We'll see what happens for next year, but anyway, they're starting to grow out, and as they do grow out, I'll train them up on the trellis, and then I'll let them have one, maybe two melons, but not more than that. And the same with my melons. They didn't really care for the cold temperatures either. But now that the temperatures are going up, they are really starting to take off. So hopefully that'll be good. And these are going to be growing on the trellis as well. Here I have my green kiwi plants. I have the female on this side and the male on that side. They are supposed to flower in June. Today is like one of the last days of May. So hopefully next month this will flower. If it does, I'll leave it here for the rest of the year until it finishes giving fruit. If it doesn't give fruit this year, I'm going to move it and put it over and plant it on that metal trellis, so that it can be planted in the same area where my yellow kiwis are. Okay, here I have my Chinese jujubes, and it has a lot of fruit growing on it this year. Last year I had maybe half a dozen fruit. This year I have half a dozen fruit on every branch. Some of them are pretty large. And these look like little apples when they are larger. And when they're ripening, they start to turn a dark golden color and almost into a brownish color. And they taste like dates and honey mixed together. They're really quite good. Okay, behind that, you can see a little bit from here. On this corner trellis, I have blackberries, thornless blackberries. Two different varieties. I have a Natchez and Apache. And these are starting to color. They're getting to the reddish stage. And there are a lot of little blackberries growing on this vines at the moment. I didn't prune them correctly, and I show or explain that in another video on the blackberry playlist. And so, even though I'm going to have quite a bit of fruit this year, next year, because I'm pruning them correctly now, next year I should have a lot of this fruit. Next to that, I have 5 varieties of blueberries. I didn't prune these at all this year, and I think that they need to be pruned in order for them to really put out more growth. So, and now that the fruit has really been ripened and the birds ate the majority of them, and we picked quite a few of them as well, I'm going to go ahead and do some pruning on it, so hopefully that'll spur some new growth on them. I have Misty, South Moon, and O'Neill, and the other 2 varieties I don't remember what they are. I also have Japanese goji berries that are growing here. See how those come out. Fuyu persimmon that this coming week I will be espaliering the fuyu and the chocolate persimmon, which is also called the black sapote. I had lost all of the branches on the black zapote to the freeze earlier this year, but everything is coming back, so it's looking pretty good. And here I have the other 5 guava trees. I have a lot of fruit growing on them at the moment, and I'm really looking forward to eating those because I love guavas. Here I have a pineapple guava and a lemon guava. A lot of fruit here. An Indian white guava here. Strawberry guava. And another tropical white. The other tropical white, the fruit actually looks different from the one that's in the front. So I think they're 2 different varieties of tropical white, but I can't be sure. If I have 8 varieties or I have 10, it's not that big a deal. I'm eating all that fruit. I love it anyway. Here I have my first raised bed planter box, and here is where I'm going to be planting the rest of those strawberries that you saw in the bucket, and around the other one down here. I haven't set up the 3rd raised bed planter yet, but as soon as I can I will. Anyway, I have broccoli growing here, and here, and I believe it's cauliflower back here. This one, here, and here. And then in between them, I have radishes growing here, like that. Wow, that one's pretty bad. Hopefully you can still hear me. I have beets growing in this section here, carrots here, and there are a lot of little carrots growing out in there. And I have spinach here, and here I have some celery growing, and this one I'm not exactly sure what the heck it is, but I think it's another variety of spinach, but we'll find out. Anyway, I've eaten some of the little spinach baby leaves, and they're really good. I have another variety of carrots. These are red carrots here. And then I have 2 kinds of zucchini growing here. I'm going to be training these up so that they grow vertically. These are the type that once the stem starts growing out here, it lays on the ground and it just becomes a bush. And I'm going to be making these grow vertically, and they're going to look like little palm trees with the fruit hanging down. You'll see probably on the next video or the next tour what I mean about that. Here I have the 2nd raised bed planter, and I've planted quite a few things in here, but I still have more stuff to plant. I have butter lettuce growing here. I love this kind of lettuce. 9 of those. I have 9 cabbage growing here, and then I planted some onions. I planted these from seed, but these are the big Texas. I got 2 varieties, Texas and Utah Spanish. A big, they're brown, light brown skin on the outside and white on the inside onions. Here I planted 4. This one still has to come out. It's 4 of the yellow squash that look like zucchini. So for me, they're like yellow zucchini. They're called yellow squash. And in the middle here, between these, I planted more radishes as well. So those are already starting to come out. They're little tiny radish plants. But anyway, I'll be training these to grow vertically as well. These are not vines. They are more of a bush, but as I said with the other zucchinis, these yellow zucchinis are going to be growing vertically. They're going to look like little palm trees with the fruit hanging down as well. probably in the next couple weeks or a month or so, I'll set up the third raised bed planter, and then I'll be showing what I'm going to be doing here. I'm probably going to be planting a lot of asparagus in there because I have a lot of asparagus seeds that I've planted. Here, growing vertically on this trellis, corner trellis, I have butternut squash. A lot of these little plants already have little butternut squash growing. Here's an example. Last year I got about 50 of these, 50 little butternut squash out of it. These are the big ones, not little. When I was at the store this week, I saw that there are big butternut squash, and then a new variety. I don't know if it's a new variety, but a new variety for me. They're little, like mini butternut squash, and they're like 5 or 6 inches at their largest. The other ones, I had some that were probably a foot and a half long, and so this variety is the kind that gives really big butternut squash. And looks like I'm going to have to come in and attach some of these vines to the these grow really quickly. I'm going to have to attach them to the trellis. Once they get to the top, I just topped them off. They grow from the sides as well. So here where the little flowers are coming out, they also put out new shoots. So it's constantly growing more of a plant area. Here I have sweet potatoes growing, and some cilantro, and not exactly sure what that is, but more potatoes, and something called epazote. Here, back to where I'm going to be planting my tomatoes. I didn't say what varieties the tomatoes were, but I have planted Beefsteak, Super Beefsteak, and Brandywine, little tomato plants that are growing there. Those are the ones that are going to be going into these two growing areas here. And then on that side, I was going to put tomato plants there, but now that I have dragon fruit, here's where I'm going to be planting the dragon fruit, and I'll set up a trellis as well because I'm going to espalier those. I'm not going to let those grow out the way they typically grow them out, where they make them look like a big bush or palm tree and things growing every which way. I'm not going to let that happen. Here I have 5 Roma tomato plants growing. They are just about tall enough to reach the trellis now. And probably another week or so I'm going to start attaching to the trellis, and they will grow vertically. Then back here I have jalapeno, serrano, jalapeno, 2 more serranos, 2 ancho chilies, and 5 bell peppers, purple, red, orange, yellow, and green bell peppers. And this one, I think this is a Thai red hot chili, based on the pictures that I've seen, but I'm still not sure. Once the chilies have all come out, then I will hopefully be able to identify it, but it has a lot of little chilies already on it. And then here I have my sugar pie pumpkins growing vertically. 9 plants, and it has little pumpkins coming out already. We'll see what happens. Hopefully they'll grow out quite nicely. I need to come in and attach these here as well. I will. Anyway, Here's another little pumpkin here. So the pumpkins are starting to come out. Then, so that I don't have to come back, I'll show that behind the chilies, I have a space that I wasn't using, and I've planted 22 corn here. So I'm going to try to use all of the space that I have. They're growing out quite nicely. They are as tall as the chili plants, and I just planted these a couple weeks ago. Anyway, I have a total of about 100 different corn plants growing at different stages. 30 of them I'll show in just a minute. They are with the corn ears already, and the other 75 are small little corns at the moment. Okay, back to the chayotes. I started to talk about those a little earlier. These are a type of squash that grow on a vine, so I'm going to set up a trellis here for these 3 chayotes here. I planted them, and the ground is starting to crack where the plants are starting to come up. So in another couple weeks, the plants should be out quite nicely. Here, I set up a little planting area for garlic. I have 56 cloves of garlic planted here that should be able to harvest toward the end of August, and all of them have come out already. This is the smallest one, but the rest of them are all probably like 8 inches, almost a foot for some of them. And then on this side are the corn that I was talking about. They are, some of them are like 9 to 10 feet tall already. But I'm going to go around just a moment. Okay, so now here you can see the corn and just how tall they are. They've almost reached the roof line of the house. And when I first started posting recent videos about these, I said that they had between 1 to 2 ears of corn growing on each corn stalk. Actually, I have to amend that. They have 1 to 3 ears of corn growing on each. This one has 1 here, 2, and 3. And apparently there are several that have 3 of them. So it looks like we should have quite a good harvest of corn. Anyway, on this growing area, I have 30 corn stalks growing, and at this stage, so like in the next month, hopefully, I'll be harvesting corn. But then once I cut those down, once they've given their corn, I have a next wave of 30 more corn that are growing here. I planted these just a couple of weeks ago, so I should have 2 waves of corn. Here, growing in these little bucket things, I have some epazote and a bunch of different things, little onions and some more garlic, some basil, some celery. Oh, nice. A little ladybug. Anyway, some more of those cherry tomatoes. And one thing that we're starting is I'm going to set up a planter, little planter trellis where I'm going to be growing pineapple. we have 3 little pineapple plants started, but over against the far wall I'm going to set up a trellis that holds those pots up against that wall there. So we'll have like 4 at each row, 4 and then 4, 4, 4, and maybe it might be 16 to 20 of the pots hanging, so that I have a wall of pineapple growing. And I'll do a separate video on that. And the last thing that I need to show is the area where I'm growing corn on this side. So behind, you may have seen it as I was walking through, behind the watermelons and the cantaloupes, I have 25 corn growing back there. And actually the last thing that I'll show is this. I went over to Home Depot and found these little seed starter kits. There's 72 little spaces in each one, and as it turns out, these help you to grow the seeds really quickly. So I'm using these. I've planted another 24 corn here, so total about 125 corn that are going to be growing. These last corns that I'm starting here are going to be growing behind the persimmons and behind the blueberries over against that wall there. And that is the end of my garden tour. If you have any questions or comments, please post them and I will respond as soon as I can. Thank you for watching.